Hello, and welcome to the Thrive Mindset Podcast. I'm so glad you're here with me. My name is Carrie Dahle, and I am your host. I am an entrepreneur, author, podcaster, manifester, and a motivator, and I am on a mission to empower you to create the life of your dreams. If you are looking to up-level your life, relationships, finances, productivity, and success, then you have come to the right place. I plan on sharing with you my tools, my resources, strategies, my failures, and my successes that have helped me achieve the life I was dreaming of. It is my goal with this podcast to help you see your potential and empower you to create the life of your dreams. So let's get to it. Welcome to the first episode of the Thrive Mindset Podcast. My name is Carrie Dahle, and I'm so grateful you are here with me. I'm all about helping you create the life of your dreams and teaching you how to mindfully manifest that to life. I'm so excited to share this first podcast with you. Thank you for being here. I want this experience to be personal, vulnerable, and truly connect with all of you. So I'm starting this podcast on Valentine's Day with the love of my life, my husband, Jeff. Today, we will discuss one of the greatest ideas that I believe we have come up with as a couple. An idea that has taken us from doing pretty well in life to a point in our lives where we now push each other beyond what we think we could accomplish. This is our annual Reflect, Recalibrate, and Reenergize trip. But first, let me introduce you to Jeff Dahle. He's the number one person in my life. He is a flight instructor, an electrical engineer, a loving father and husband, and a brilliant man. He is my biggest supporter, my backboard for ideas, the yin to my yang. He calls me on my bullshit and picks me up when I fall, and there's no one else I would want to record this first episode with. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for that intro.
Well,
makes me actually sound like a good person.
You are a good person. So I feel like we have so much to talk about when it comes to sharing ideas and concepts behind Reflect, Recalibrate, and Reenergize. But first, I think for people to really understand these concepts, they might need to know a little bit more about us. Do you want to share a little bit about our history?
Boy, we go back a long way. I mean, in a way back machine to right about the... I've lost track. It's either the late 80s or the early 90s. Right about the 90s, I'm not sure. But
right
we
90s.
Were kids for sure. Mm-hmm. High school, as we've told the story before, it was just out camping with some friends, and you and one of your girlfriends went riding by on a bike, and as guys would do, we couldn't take our eyes off. And I'd like to say that I thought right at that moment, I'm going to marry her someday. But I don't think at 15 years old that truly came across my mind at that time. But, it's been a long time. It's been so much wonderful and amazing and incredible experiences, more so than I could have ever imagined. And like any relationship, there's ups and downs, and there's, as I like to refer to them, stupid guy tricks. And but you know what? We got through, and we have 4 beautiful children, and put together what I think is a pretty cool life that we work on every single day. And I'm extremely fortunate to have you be my backboard and truly call me on my bullshit.
Well, somebody has to.
Yeah, well, get in line.
The funny thing, though, is we honestly were awful at communicating when we were kids.
Oh, we sucked.
We talked and we had fun, but on our when we had to talk about anything serious, it was bad. I remember being a kid and you pulling out music lyrics and chapters to books to try to explain your feelings, and I, of course, took them all the wrong way.
Well, look, there weren't any podcasts back there. There wasn't anything other than just you had to get buried in a bookstore somewhere and find books. No. Wait a second. Let me back up real quick. If I heard you, every kid was using music lyrics. Okay, some kids, the dorks. I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't journal about. I don't know. But hey, look, it was the best I could do. Right? I was scared. I didn't have any confidence. I was worried.
Chicago lyrics.
Yeah. Well, it's Peter Cetera to be specific, but now I'm really dating myself. So anyway, yeah, and books and seriously, if I still, anytime I come across, men are from Mars, women are from Venus, or whatever it was, I get yeah, I get spun up. So no, glad we're past that phase.
Yeah, me too.
By a decade or 3.
For sure. But look at us now. We've grown, we've matured, we've found our own way to be individuals.
You have.
Okay, then maybe. I think you have too. But we've found our way to be individuals, but still listen and love and support each other's dreams.
Absolutely.
With a lot of trial and error, for sure. And that leads me to what I do believe that we have cultivated into a really special thing. Our annual Reflect, Recalibrate, and Reenergize trip. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. It wasn't always called that. It kind of came into being. Well, it was I was, like you said, I'm an engineer. I try to put meaning to everything and then I start, calling it R cubed, 3R, something, whatever. But really, it actually, if you're looking for the history of that and where we kind of came to, yeah, sure. Well, as you know, we're pretty busy, and summer, fall for both of us is pretty busy. I know you love to garden. You are always out, and summertime is your favorite time. And as always, as summer turns to fall, you have always done wonders to truly make the house a home relative to the holidays and all of the things that go into October, November, December. And then, usually after the holidays, after New Year, then it just is like, it's gray, it's cloudy, it's rainy, it's January. And for years, we did this trip with the kids because it was winter break. We could have them together. We could pull them and go somewhere. We'd try to do something different. And really, it was truly, I guess we called it what everybody called it, which was a vacation. That's what you're taking a vacation. We're just getting out of here for a little bit. And really, the idea came to me, and I think you'll remember this, on all the various places that we would go. Sometimes it was just, a couple hours away or a drive to the coast or something. But if you recall, one of the things as the kids got older, they were always upset when we would leave.
Oh gosh, especially Disneyland.
Especially Disneyland, right? It was like the place isn't going anywhere. But it's hard to convince kids. Anyway, so when the kids started to understand that it was really a trip for the family, and it was really that the experience was what was important, I don't know why I started saying this, and I think the kids will all remember this, but I would say we're purchasing memories. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yep. They would say thank you, and I would say, look, it's not about the stuff or anything. I'm just purchasing memories. That's what we're spending this trip on. And I think as the kids got older and they're young adults and doing really well, it's just the two of us. And really, honestly, that's what I was waiting for too. I mean, I love family vacations, but I really love spending time with you. And that was a time, as we noticed too, that the kids were starting to get ready to leave the home, to build their own lives, that we started thinking about our lives post kids in the house. And I've always been very fortunate to have that relationship with you, as busy as we were raising a family, doing the things, working, you and I both working and running every which way, like all parents do. As much as we kind of what do you say, ships crossing in the night, as you're running them to sports practice and I'm running them somewhere else, or work and this, whatever, we never lost track of us, but we knew that we wanted to spend time with each other too. So it was really cool that we didn't, once the kids left, it wasn't like, well, what do we do now? We knew what we wanted to do, but we also, I knew I wanted something more than a vacation, but I didn't know what. And it occurs to me looking back that what we were doing a few years ago, I didn't realize it at the time, but what we were doing was starting to really understand our place in life, how important time is, how special time is, to live in the moment. Stoicism, however you want to call it. I call it something different. You and I, you're more creative, I'm more analytical, but I think we're always heading in the same direction relative to that. I wanted it to be more than a vacation. I wanted it to be something where there was a purpose.
I was going to say, I think it was about a few years ago when we went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
That you did. You were really longing and looking for it to be something more.
Yeah.
I mean, I can just soak up the sun, but
I know you can. And yeah, I'm absolutely, as can I. But what I didn't want it to be was, okay, we're here for 7 days, or we're here for 5, or wherever we decide to go, and then that's it, and it's back to whatever a baseline was. I wanted to say, I wanted to use this time for something more. How do we grow as people? How do we grow in a relationship? How do we grow as individuals? So I wanted to assign more mindful purpose to it, I guess you would say, something that would connect on a deeper level. I wanted to purchase memories for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, to kind of close the loop with the kids, I mean, that really worked for them from a kid's standpoint, because it's really fun to talk to them now. And you ask them, hey, what did you get for Christmas or your birthday or something like that? They can't remember from 5 years ago. Who can? But you ask them, hey, where did we go? What did we do? And boom, they'll tell you immediately. They know exactly. Remember the time we went here and we did that and the thing happened? And I mean, that's just an immeasurable return on investment emotionally, you know, with your family. So I wanted that for us. I guess that gets us to the reflect, recalibrate, reenergize.
Yeah. Why those 3 things?
Well, I mentioned a few moments earlier about stoicism, and that's really just understanding the moment that it is, and without getting into that. And that's part of a journey that I've taken in the last few years, and I know you've come along with that too, and you've understood things in your own way, and I love our discussions about it. But that still said, there's kind of a past, a present, and a future. And you had mentioned I'm an engineer. That's how I think through things. I'm trying to back off the analytics of things, but I'm super curious about everything in life. I have to know how things work. My parents, I'm sure, are still very upset at all of the toasters and the VCRs and the things that I just took apart trying to figure out how it worked. And what I'm fascinated now is basically deconstructing life and deconstructing relationships, and what worked, what is working, what could we do better from a growth standpoint. So to start with the reflect, it's like anything else. It's running a business, or it's sports, or it's anything in life. If you don't know what got you to that certain point, how do you correct? And how do you, even so much as just to say, what's working now, I want to continue to work, so therefore don't change anything. So I thought it was important to spend the first part of that reflecting and just thinking about the last year, big picture. As we've spoken before, you journal, you write, you always have. I am very much an all caps bullet point, scribble, indent 3 times and hit the points, hit the notes, and that's it. I cannot free flow. I cannot write. I am something I'm working on, but I found that I needed to sit down and just take 1 page and say, what are the big points that worked? How would I describe last year? What was I feeling? I mean, it's to say it's stereotypical male to bury feelings is kind of passé. I think the better way to say that is that we're all unique individuals and we all deal with things in different ways.
Did you reflect on anything beyond the year, or is it just mainly just the year?
I think as we've started to create a cadence with it, that's a great question. I think as we've started to create this recurring theme, I now can just look at the year. But absolutely, when we first did this, it was really reflecting on life. Mm-hmm. And I've said this to the kids without getting off too much on a tangent. I think one of the things I've learned about the human condition that is so difficult is that we have thoughts about our thoughts, right? So we can create a past, we can create a future, we can create a simulation of both of those. We can go through all the different scenarios and cause so much emotional torment for things that never happened.
So true.
And or we can spin up our own version of what that was or how it was. And so many people struggle with that, and I feel it. I really do. So what I tried to do was I tried not to overanalyze, but I tried not to avoid either, right? And so where I was getting with that, I guess, and sorry, I can talk. I mean, I can be all over the place. I'm trying to.
It's okay.
Trying to bring this in.
You're doing good.
It hit me years ago, not too long ago, but several years ago, that I'm going to do everything I can to not live with regret. We all feel emotion. That's a human condition. As much as some of us don't like that, it's just true. And that's the human experience of feeling the range of emotions. That said, for me in particular, there are a couple of those emotions that I would rather do everything I can to not feel. Not from an avoiding standpoint, but in again, can I reflect and see if there's anything, and we'll get to recalibrate, but is there anything that I can do to correct course to minimize those feelings? And there's two. One is regret. That's an emotion that I lived with for years. And it was, and you and I have not really talked too much about this, but it was paralyzing to me, regret. Some people have said, paralysis by analysis, or, okay, fine, that's in the present, right? You can freeze because you have too many decisions, but now you're reflecting on things that are locked in the past that you can't do anything about. That's beyond paralyzing, or it was to me. Mm-hmm. And as you know, I lost my parents at a relatively younger age. And so I think that was combined with every moment counts, because you never know when it's going to be. And we'll get to that later too. But I was like, I was overanalyzing every single minute and every single possible choice. And I really used that reflect time to just say, I've got to let that go. I've got to let it go.
That's good.
I can learn from it, but framing what's in the past is in the past in terms of eliminating regret and just understanding that the path that you took is just the path that you took. And I'll give you another example of this. There's I came to the fork in the road. I'm quoting, I'm sorry, not getting it right, but I took the path less taken, mm-hmm. right? And we all visualize that, right? I think where we go wrong is we have this visualization of these choices, of these forks in the road, and we select whichever way we're going to go. Great. Again, back to that human condition. When we have outcomes or processes as we choose that path, we immediately start thinking about, well, what if I had taken the other path? What if I can I just rewind about 10 paces and then choose the other path? What we don't realize, and it is, at least for me, it was extremely helpful to accept that same visualization. But the second that you make a decision and you take one step in one direction, the other path immediately disappears. It's mm-hmm. gone forever from the universe. It does not exist. And if you can think of that visualization that way, I think it helps tremendously in my case. It just is. It just is the way, however someone chooses to feel that, it's liberating, I think, anyway. So that's the reflect. So
I find that really interesting. I don't think you've ever said those things to me. And the reason I find it so interesting is because, what reflect is to me. It's journaling. It mm-hmm. is going back and looking at what's the big thing I did this year. It is thinking about all the things I did mm-hmm. good. It's about thinking about things I didn't do so well. It's thinking about how I can change. It's that to me is reflection. But I can totally see how you would reflect differently.
Yeah. And it's really kind of just put a period on the end of that is what it is. Yeah. It is what went well, what didn't, accept it, understand that again, what works for each individual works for each individual. Some may say, it happened for a reason, or life works out. And all of those things I think are just different ways of saying the same thing, that time is precious, time moves in one direction. And that really brings us to the recalibrate, right? Which is the present. Okay.
Yeah. And here I'm sure we're very different too. But I'd love to hear how that works.
Now, why
for
don't you go first this time?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I think you need to go first. I do. I think this was...
Okay.
The 3 R's were yours. You really defined them for us. So I feel like you sharing how you recalibrate is...
Sure. Well, recalibrate is again now comparing, and now with gentle forgiveness, with some grace, but of personal critique. It's okay to say, without saying woulda, coulda, shoulda, or however one wants to phrase that, to be able to say, what are some things I've reflected, I've thought about it, I've engaged to the extent that I've gained the information I need over past years or year or decade or whatever it is. In this case now, as we make our annual trip in January. And by the way, I mean, let me just take an aside here that it's not like we go to Fairbanks, Alaska or anything. We always find a latitude that is at least 15 degrees to 25 degrees south of where we are here in the temperate zone of the United States here. So, because you need warmth, you dress in layers.
That's part of Reenergize.
Yeah, you're a summer girl, and I get that, and I appreciate that. But the recalibrate is now again the engineer in me. What can I tweak? What can I try? I'm not very good at it, but I've also learned to just accept and be humble too. What are some new recipes for life that I could play around with? What are some things that I can try? And it is very hard for a human mind to accept that the beliefs that they've come and have ossified in their head over however many times or how many experiences to be able to question those. And it is therapeutic to honestly to identify that and then to adjust from there. To see what I can play with, to ask myself, where was I wrong? And it's okay to be wrong. And then what can I change? And I'll try to write a few things down. I am not like you. I am all over the joint when it comes to that. So, but I'll try to come up with some ideas of what could I have tweaked. It also feels good to be comfortable. That's one thing I can say about myself, is that there are parts of my life where I enjoy a good challenge, really do. But I would say in others, no. I mean, it's difficult to get out there on that cliff and try something. And I've always been, for years, career-wise, I guess is where I would say, has been something where that's been something where I've been very comfortable, good at what I do. It scared the heck out of me to try different things.
So what is that state? What is that line? If it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
Yep. Yep. And, corollary to that is that it can be applied to many different facets of life and relationships is, you're either moving forward or you're moving backwards, but you're not being the same, And so if you're not moving forward, therefore you're regressing in some regards. And you can be regressing and still be comfortable. And there's no shame in that. Who am I to ever point at anybody else other than myself? But it took me a while to realize that. So that's part of the recalibrating now, is I can do it pretty much in real time now. I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress I'll do for the rest of my life. But that was super fun to be able to identify that.
I think during this trip, though, I think recalibrate is more... you've looked at your reflections, right? And you know what things you want to do for it different. So now it's deciding, okay, what do I want to do this year? What changes do I want to make? What steps do I want to take towards whatever I'm dreaming about? And really, you and I just bouncing ideas off of each other and talking about it and discussing how we're going to do that. And is that real, or is that a possibility? Or are you just, pretending in your mind that this hobby it's just a hobby.
Sure.
I think that to me, that's what recalibrating is. To me, that's that time we spend. Because I think even though, we're hanging out in the sun, we spend a lot of time listening to podcasts and sharing them and talking about ideas and whiteboarding, like you always say, just what it is, how we're going to get there. To me, that's what recalibrating is.
Yeah. And that's, I think, you hearing about different ideas to try. And I'm in the process of actually trying to put the different ingredients in a different order in the recipe. And you're thinking about the ingredients, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's the difference with me being creative and you being an engineer. You're always trying to figure out the how. I just want the idea.
I have a passion, if not an obsession, with efficiency. And that's the engineer in me too. I love finding the best way to make X work, where X is anything and everything that interests me. I love efficiency. And I've had to kind of actually pump the brakes a little bit on that too, because I get overexcited and it's like, wait, and you've actually helped me with that, saying, wait, you have a look. It's like, give it a second. Just relax. We'll get there. Because once I come up with an idea, I just want to go with it. So, or I'll come up with 3 or 4 different ideas, and then I'll try to do all of them. And it's you can't do all of them at the same time. But anyway, that brings you into Reenergize here, which is
my favorite. Well, it is. It is my favorite.
Yeah. Well, I think you just get that directly from the sun's rays. So
probably.
Yeah.
But it's important.
Absolutely.
I mean, I feel like, I think the whole point to me about Reenergize is that we do go and we go hard at everything all the time. And when you do that, you have to stop and you have to take a minute and you have to get your work covered and you have to get all the things so you can actually spend the time to just relax.
Yes.
Breathe.
Yes. I'm nodding at you going, yes, I agree. I'm still working on that, because that's what I try to do too, especially when you're somewhere and you're enjoying time together. And that's, I think, one of the issues I'm still working on here is living in that moment and enjoying every moment for what it's worth, tempered with not trying to rush to get back home so I can go try out all these new things that I want to do, just to slow down. And so I'm re-energized about the ideas and going, and it usually takes you saying, look, we still got a few days here, like, slow down. And that's good. That's really good. But I do think that one thing that I'm trying to get better at, and it's just more, I don't want to say organizational because I don't want to sound sterile with this experience, but it is I was going to use the word being organized about it and creating action. I think that was a missing step for me relative to either being afraid to take action, afraid to take a step. But anyway, that's where the Reenergize comes for me, because now I've recalibrated, I've reset, I've come up with ideas for growth. I've come up with new mindsets that I want to try, find out what's working. And now it's like, okay, put that plan in motion. Let's go and let's actually do it. And let's come out of the gates and have some fun. And it's been transformative. I mean, it really has. I think anyway.
I think so. All the things we've done over the last couple of years is just it's crazy.
And it's really nice, though, back to the very beginning of, is it a vacation? Sure, it's a vacation. Okay. We all need to step away from our lives. We all need to get away. But to turn it into an exercise of working on yourself, of working on your relationship with your partner, of physiologically slowing down, physically slowing down, emotionally slowing down. I think, we have a rule of airplane mode is airplane mode. It just is. That was one thing I think you and I both had a problem with is, and I know that that's not possible for a lot of people, and I understand it might be, possible. I mean, we've talked about it. We have kids at home, and there is a what if of kids, calling us and so forth. But with all humility and respect, I think we said we have to prioritize ourselves, and even if it's just for a few hours at a time, boom, airplane mode. You have to.
So for someone who's not done this before, what would be the point? I mean, what do you think they get out of it? If you like, for example, if you were to tell our kids, I think you guys need to go on this trip, our oldest son and his girlfriend, if we were going to tell them, you guys should do this, this is what you'll get out of it. What do you think?
Well, first off, I can't tell them what they're going to get out of it. I can only tell them what I got out of it. So that's number one.
Yeah.
I can
But
work
you would
them
have a reason for encouraging them to do it.
Sure. But one of the things that I'm going to change the conjugation or change the sentence structure of what are you going to get out of it to what will you start to continue to get out of this, to continue to get out of it forever.
Yeah.
Because I think for me, tomorrow was always something that was always, okay, I'm going to accomplish this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to have a task list. I'm going to get this. This is the destination. This is the end result. This is the product of the work that I have. I have completely changed that mindset into everything is just a process. You are just in the middle of the process, right? It's just the journey is the thing, right? And so what I would tell anyone, what I'd tell our kids is, if you are going to put your effort into anything, practice perpetual refinement, humility, and I mean, I'm speaking about our kids, and I'm sure so many people could relate to this with themselves and their kids, is setting expectations. Wow, if you cannot set expectations, that would be outstanding. And just enjoy every moment for what it is, feel what comes in. I would ask the kids to just work on the process with zero expectations and just try a little bit every time. I guess, does that make sense? Is that,
yeah,
maybe that might be a little too...
It wasn't quite where I was going. I was more,
try it again.
I was more, if we were going to recommend this to people, which we are, I mean, that's kind of the point of sharing this. Why would you encourage somebody to spend a time? And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go away on a long trip. It could be a weekend at home, just by yourselves. It could be whatever. But why would you encourage someone to take time for the 3 hours?
From my point of view, I would say this, and this is the things that I've learned. Life is so important. Life is so precious, and every moment is finite. And I would say to live a more examined life, to, I don't want to say to feel better. That doesn't. There's so many things, for better or for worse, that can make people feel better. But I think that there are so many experiences that the human experience, and to trend towards a state of higher well-being for yourself, for the people around you, to slow down, to notice, to accept with grace. I mean, and margaritas. I mean, I don't,
Yeah,
I mean, there's,
no, I agree with all that.
Everybody's going to get something else out of it. I think just trying it, I would provide this advice though. You're not going to be good at it the first time. You're just not. And if you feel that you're not being good at it, and you recognize that, and you notice that feeling, and you accept it without judgment, you're already on your way to getting it right.
Yeah. So I think that these trips are a key part of what sets us up for a year. And I think that they are a key part of what sets our mind right with where we want to go, where it motivates us and it energizes us and it excites us about life. And I've just seen how much we have done together because of these trips. Mm-hmm. In fact, I've seen so much. I'm really curious. What do you think anything would be different if we had started doing it sooner in this way?
Like from the very, very beginning of our relationship, kind of, we'd figure this out. that answer, I cannot even consider that question.
That's true, because you're right. It goes back to your path thing, and you can't.
Right.
It's not there.
It doesn't.
Fair enough. Fair enough. That's a really fair point. I guess my whole point of the question was just, I think I want to encourage anybody and everybody to do this if they can, because it is a huge reset. It is a huge motivational time. It's a huge. I just watch the things that will come off of it from us, and I just think it's a big deal.
But I think it's important, regardless of where someone is in their life arc, their relationship arc, younger, older, middle. I mean, if someone's 150 years old right now, that it doesn't matter. Age means nothing relative to this. We have this moment. It's a gift. Spend it on yourself.
Mm-hmm. That's true. So is there anything you'd change about what we currently do?
Other than duration? No. No, I'm just joking. Is there anything I'd change? I don't know the answer to that. Okay. I really do oversimplify this, and back to the kids, they hated it when I would say this, but I would just say, hey, wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
And even what we would otherwise call a negative experience is, number one, you just notice it's an experience, that it's negative. It's just, you and I have studied these concepts. You and I both are, I think, very parallel, but it's funny. We have the same but different people that have influenced us, both locally in our lives that we know and could have a conversation with, and people that do podcasts or all over the world that, are too numerous to name, that I could line them up and just tell them how infinitely grateful I am for them teaching me various tools. So no, I don't think that there's anything that I would do different. But that's, I'll get to the next one. Wherever we are in 2024 and I recalibrate there, then maybe there's a subtle tweak that we'll make. But other than that, I'm not, if something comes to me in the moment and it's worth tweaking and changing, great, we'll do it. But I'm not going to spend time thinking about it in advance.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm incredibly grateful for our trips and our special time away and what we've created. But I have one final question for you. Is there anything on your mind that you can think that we haven't covered, or something that you think would benefit our listeners?
The only thing that I would say, and again, speaking for myself, is it is okay and it is completely normal to be incredibly scared and uncomfortable to think about this. And it is incredibly normal to have your mind flood with reasons why you can't do things. And it is okay to take baby steps. It is okay to make it one day, make it one afternoon, make it, dinner down the street. You don't have to go somewhere. You don't have to go somewhere warm like we do. This just happens to be what we've created that works for us, and it's just kind of fun. And I've always enjoyed the way we found this too. I mean, we tend to. You are a travel agent. You don't know it, basically. You love finding the different things and so forth. But I would just say, if you are feeling uncomfortable, then you are doing it right. That's what I'm saying. If you are feeling uncomfortable, that is immediate feedback that you are on the right path.
Goes back to that line that with if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
That's right. Yeah. So, I guess you could throw in it helps to be someplace where I know from. You said you like to be in the sun, reading a book. I would add, from my perspective, that I enjoy watching you in the sun reading a book. I'm kind of a shade guy when it comes to that. I like to keep dragging the chair to half sun, half shade kind of thing. But I do like watching the 900 different swimsuits that you pack and figuring out how you're all going to reorder them and change. I mean, that's me. That's
you just being you.
That's me being me and my wife. So. Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much. And thank you to all of you that are listening. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of the Thrive Mindset podcast. In the coming weeks, I'll share more on what the Thrive Mindset is and the ideas and strategies behind the brand. If you enjoyed listening, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And remember, you can manifest the life of your dreams.